All right, there we go. Making sure we're good here. Okay. All right. So we're at London Open. Let's take a look at where we are. I think the mic volume is going to self-adjust, so it might be a little loud. I don't know what this thing's going to do with it. It looks okay. All right. So let's go to the chart. First of all, I took the little loss on those positions from earlier, and I'm not taking a trade that time of day again. There's a reason why I don't. Let's catch up on where we are. Let's just do an overview. Sort of run through it quickly. So after the uptrend and the high volume situation we talked plenty about, this might now, to sort of catch up to where we are, we have to see the reaction to this level. Let's mark it up there. This fib I'm drawing from the bottom to the top of that move. So it went to 618, and we're here again. So if this is going to, this is a big decision point, right? So if it's going to, sorry, 1 second. Okay. If it's going to continue to move down, we'd likely not see buyers. If there's a sign of strength here, double bottom fake breakout, then it's likely to move up. So this is a big decision point, as a lot of you know, in this pattern. There was some buying the first time around. We'll see if it shows up again. And it's just hitting it now. And there's very high volume, and it's a strong move, widespread, but we have to see the reaction. If it continues down, or if it actually stops right around here, and the old support is marked 618. So this is really it. Bounce off strength or continue. There may initially be strength, but continuing into lower prices without strength through there. So we'll see the reaction. It's all about the reaction. So far, high volume is good, but we have to see the reaction. Again, that kind of shows the view. Of where we're at and all the buy activity there. And of course, it's 618, so it's nothing new. And the thing to note is there really wasn't that much weakness on this up move, so it's not trading into any sort of high volume weakness in there. So we'll see how that sets up, if that sets up. What's up, guys? But a lot of you know this pattern, right? This is where a trend pulls back. We've been talking about this. And any questions, let me know. But that's really straightforward, right? So there's a difference here. We have the euro dollar. Pound dollar is continuing down. And this is continuing down. Now, it could be a sign of things to come for the euro dollar, but we'll take it as it comes. If you're drawing a fib here, it broke 618, which is very bearish. This is the sort of situation. It is likely to continue until it hits some high volume. It's a real sell-off. It's, again, that decision point. And it did a break, test continuation, a bearish pattern. And this could even give scalp entries, I was going to say, in the 14 EMA, which is actually coming off of one here. Because there is a way down. As long as there's not high volume strength, there is some volume coming in. It's London Open, so it's going to do that. But it's likely going to the support area, since it clearly broke the 618, obviously. And it's a real move. So we'll see if there's a 14 EMA test opportunity to get in. A scalp type of entry could show up. It could, of course, move up and hit some weakness after not showing strength. We just need to chill out with the volume because it's, of course, the London Open spike, which makes this look like we're seeing strength, but we have to take it for what it is. It's also the high volume of the session open. Found the chat. There you go. Okay, good. Good morning. Good morning. So the euro dollar has to make its decision at 618, but the other guys already have, and it may be a sign of things to come in a bearish day. And let's look at AU, which again, the high volumes there, we got to see the reaction, and it's also London Open. Real sell-off on the Australian dollar, though. Now, the thing is, with the AU, this background is a little more bullish than some of the others. Obviously, you see an uptrend when it's a new high ground, higher highs, higher lows. So to be breaking here is sort of, it's losing its bullishness. We'll see if we can get back above 618 or it turns into a real move. But we see this a lot. The overshoot, high volume, and it comes back and actually does move up. But if we end up sort of floating down, we get into the session, volume's not high, there's no strength, then it's off. Just like, I'm sure GU could show you that if we look back, because it pretty much always works that way. You start to see lower prices without volume increases. Lower prices, without high volume stopping the progress. You'll see some maybe initially, but it's sort of decreased. Even when you see maybe some strength, but then it decreases and then it breaks. So we'll see how it actually reacts to these things. Yens. EJ, I'm kind of avoiding for now. But we were talking about bearish on the pound yen also earlier, which is probably the better one. It's really run off. So again, 14 EMA in strong trends, and that may give a retracement entry off of that. Since it's not really buying high, buying into a, selling high, selling into weakness after weakness or something. It's just, it's just running off. But that's sort of what these 14 EMA rejection entries are for. These sort of situations. There's a big bounce right there. So this is a classic high probability pattern here. And it's also the right time of day, so that helps. A lot of times, the market, again, goes through its sort of moods for a while. When things are active and healthy like they are now, we're not stuck every day in the same price area or something. We're getting trends and retracements, 618 here and everything. Typically, Asia session can bring a retracement and give sort of better levels for the actual active times. There's other times where Asia session can continue the trend, like in this case, continues up into Asia session. So kind of hit or miss. There's not as much activity, obviously, at that time of day. So to expect smart money to really play out what they're planning on doing at that time of day is obviously not typical. That's why I really don't trade that time of day. I took small risk on those trades, but yeah, it's a reminder. And the situation hasn't changed, but I wasn't about to let them run back on me. I'd rather let it come down and now have a better trade and trade my regular position size too. So if that works out, it's all good. So that's probably the best thing here if we're seeing strength here, just to kind of review it. Pound is very weak. We'll see if there's a 14 EMA entry. And if this breaks to the downside, the euro dollar, these guys are likely just running off, and it'll be the scalp opportunities, the 14 EMA tests sort of stuff. That's what I'm looking for. EJ, what can we say about EJ? It's kind of barely, not really in an uptrend. I mean, this is a retracement here. 50 EMA, 618. Well, that's a daily chart, so it's 618, but of a larger move. But that is where you would have to draw the fib. That's the last trending move that we got. And that's at a decision point, too. And again, high volume, but we have to see the result. So we have a similar story. There is correlation going on here. Pretty well, which is what you tend to get at good times. They're all sort of, giving you the same thing. It's moving down, Some of them are very bearish and probably continue, but some of them may hit buyers, and we'll have to find out. Like this situation, very clean, get an answer. If there's any other forex pairs you want to look at, let me know. We'll look at more, but those are the main ones that I trade. But we can look at some others. But again, it's pretty much correlated where the dollar and the yen are kind of in a bullish state, right? Pushing everything down. That's why everything's moving down. Some are more bearish, like the pound, but it's euro and U.S. dollar strength kind of driving everything. So you can, pick anything that's likely what's driving the chart. So let's look at Bitcoin, because what I was saying was I'd like to be buying lower, but we are seeing some more aggressive buying. So just to kind of give you a perspective, again, like I've been saying, 10.5, 10.6 is where I'd like to be buying. And if this does another leg down, it can get me there. We really weren't far. We were at 10.8. And seeing this sort of activity, doesn't have to be huge volume, but we need the volume to show up and this sort of activity, 5-minute confirming and all that. So that's where I'd ideally be looking. But you notice here a fake break pattern and a bounce and some strength. So there is some sort of large buying into that, creating that pattern. As we know, we've seen that pattern all the time. Of course, that's also the fib, which I now can draw without it being the pride fib. There we go. Golden, right? For 618. Makes sense. So that's that, right? And now this is where things are getting interesting, because I haven't seen it a little bit, but does this look familiar? This is Bitcoin, and this is the euro dollar. So yeah, there's a correlation going on. I want to see how long that lasts and if they go their separate ways. This is sort of ahead of it as far as, this bounced off and is doing a little move up. And the euro, comparing Bitcoin to euro, if the dollar is mainly driving the move, that explains it, right? And then we're there, like the Bitcoin is sort of here. But it's ahead of the move, which is interesting, but it's very, very similar. But it's sort of a few hours ahead in the pattern. Is Bitcoin a leading indicator for euro dollar now? It's an interesting observation. Nothing new under the sun, though. It's a fake breakout at 618, right? Saw some strength here. If it comes down, maybe we'll see some more. With the Bitcoin, the situation, like I said, in trading these the cryptos, is that I do take a more of a scaling in approach. So the lower, the better. And the more I'd like to buy, lower. So this is not low. This is the middle of the range, which I tend to avoid. But there are some, positive signs here that it may bounce. Let's see how it deals with the 1 hour 14 EMA and the 50 fib, which does act as a test area, as you can see there. So I may buy some there and then look to buy, if it moves down here, buy more than that. If it doesn't move down and it moves up, then of course it's a profitable situation from buying there, selling up higher. When it moves down, I can look to buy more. Jim sent me a link. Thanks. Got a present. Ty Lopez. You know what's funny? Yeah, thanks. I'm gonna check this out. I know he's been like doing constant Bitcoin streams because I finally like watched a couple of his videos and then they're constantly being recommended to me. Um, where am I? But yeah, on a side note, when I first saw Ty Lopez and his commercials about here in my garage with my Lamborghinis and my books, because I have to have knowledge. Then but I get where he's coming from now. He's not so bad. He never says that he's an expert in anything. He's kind of like, I talk to experts. That's his that's his little shtick. I've talked to the greatest minds, which is could be his maid. I don't know who he thinks is the greatest mind, and he follows their advice. All right, sorry, I'm getting off track. But yeah, any sort of talk of these things, I take it all in and make my own conclusion. I heard some things today that are very, very negative about Bitcoin from some people that are somewhat people listen to them. I just take it all in and make up my own mind. But thanks, I'll check that out. Because Ty Lopez knows the best people, right? He talks to the geniuses of the world. You either like him or hate him. Like, it's one of those. It's not like, I don't know, that guy, whatever, I have no opinion. It's either he's full of shit or, thanks, man, this is great. I get where he's coming from. It's not as bad as his first impression sort of gives you. It's just he's trying to just bullshit people. But slowly winning me over a little bit. So I did get in some Litecoin. This is, again, right? We're correlated anyway. Earlier today off of this, which is, again, nothing new. Look familiar? Everybody's doing it now. It's a cool thing to do. Fake breakout, 618. And see how it deals with the 14 EMA. It's likely getting up there, and I'll see how it behaves. But this is not, a target. It's an area of information to see if we can get through it or how much weakness may show up. I'd like to get back to trying to get near the high, or we'll take it as it comes as far as where weakness may show up. But again, it's a situation where I bought some here, and then if it goes lower, I can buy more. Because I am aligning myself with all this stuff by doing this, right? Here's some buying. Here's some more buying, right? In these price areas. So it's pretty simple. I'm just trying to align with that. These are where the bears are, and we'll deal with it if we can get up there, and we'll see if they show up again or not. Be realistic about it. So that's where I am with that. I don't know how many of you are actually trading the cryptocurrencies at the moment, but I think either way, the analysis is good to kind of learn from, and I do suggest you check it out. I know some of you are. Okay, so I still like MT4 for FX. Now remember that big, looking like, ooh, okay, I like it. Very good. So this is London Open, and it's going to give you high volume, right? That's the thing about getting to an important area as we're hitting London Open. That's can be a pain in the ass. It's top of the hour right there. So we want to see high volume there, but at that time of day, it's going to give you high volume. Now, the fact that it dropped off quickly tells me that I can trust that some of that is legitimate high volume because of what it looks like it is. But here is really what helped. This is higher than the previous two. It's not this, because typically the volume will hit high on London and start to sort of fall off for a while. It didn't always do this, but this is how it behaves now. But here it fell off very quickly. I don't like this increase at low price, as you know. So if you take away this, it's usually overdone anyway. It's still really high. And then I like the second highest volume is here, because I don't really expect that again, because that's right on the open. But we're now at this point, 15 minutes in, and we get that. So I like that. Of course, we see the way the candle closed. We know what level that is. That's this low here. So I would look to take a position on this if it sets up. There is some supply hanging around here. Not the end of the world, but that's going to be a test area we're going to have to get through. It could be a good point to move to stop to break even if entering in this area off of a confirmation, which roughly could be here. There's 20 pips up to this resistance from there, so it could even be a little target or whatever. But I'm just looking at what I'm trading into, because I don't like to buy into high volume weakness. And there's a bit there, but it's not the end of the world. But there's a lot to be said about the pattern and really the high volume where it needs to be, low volume where it needs to be. Some nice buying here too. So, and that was earlier, which got me into that little trade, which I'm not doing again that time of day. But it helps the whole situation. Buying. And here I'll take a regular size position if it sets up here. Get on with it. London. So again, there's a lot of correlation just between everything right now, and we'll see how it. If my voice is a little loud, let me know, or if it's like distorting. The levels are weird. They're never the way I leave them once I start a new webinar. It's always louder or lower, but I can adjust it. But so I think it's kind of obvious where we are with these things, right, at this point, and the correlation is really extreme right now. Euro, dollar, Bitcoin, Litecoin, and again, the simplest explanation for that is that the U.S. dollar is driving the moves. If you go to a pair that does not involve the U.S. dollar or the yen, which are correlating and driving the moves, we could find something else altogether, like pound. I don't know. I just have this up for some reason. Oh, gosh. Really? Okay. Is every tradable thing on Earth at a 618 right now bouncing or breaking from this situation? The pound, New Zealand dollar? Really? That's funny, though. Okay, NU's doing a little something different. Okay. But yeah, it seems to be the theme here. See where things end up. What really starts to confirm. Probably the most textbook thing here is, again, the AU I liked, but it's sitting below 618 now, so it's always better to see it above there, of course, when taking this trade. So it's, above it and confirming that it's not breaking it. And then also, the euro dollar is already above it, and this really good sign of strength there, and this whole pattern. So this is probably the best there at the moment. Definitely the best situation. So looking for that. One second here. Okay. I wanted to see where exactly I bought Litecoin from, which was 76.84. 76.84. So if I could go back and try to, okay, yeah. Look familiar? Oh, my screen was paused. There you go. So this must be 84, right around somewhere here. There it is, 84. So there was my entry. It was likely on this candle by the time I got it. Oh, I said a what's it called? A limit order. So it pulled back a bit and caught me. It did a little. There's not really any selling coming in. It completely accepted these higher prices. So should be all right. So again, if you're trading these, that's where I'm doing it. It's very simple. There's the strength, fake break 618, and then of course, if it goes lower, buying there. But so far, it looks like it's not. It looks like it's headed up and it's going to try to move out. What else, guys? There's so much correlation. All of these situations are so similar. Let's see how they develop. Euro dollar. Okay, good. Here we go. So the euro dollar is now doing this 14 EMA test, right? Which I like to see. Let it test for sellers. We know buyers are interested. We know everything's lined up here. Good situation. But we want to see what happens off of the 14 EMA. So a couple of options are you can get a low volume test, continue. Sellers don't show up. And you move above the area. You can come down because there is some selling. And you'll have to see if buyers show up again. You can hit high volume weakness, or you can see low volume saying the selling is not very active. So we get a read on that. So we know that hopefully selling inactive, buying is active. Right, a nice low price and pattern. So it could be an entry just a few pips above there. That's that style of entry. I like the AU is also testing 14. The US dollar driving this move to a certain extent, at least, even though pound New Zealand dollar is similar. But we'll get an answer here maybe on both of them. Hopefully the same answer and something clear, and see if it really wants to turn around. Oh, some very aggressive buying. Holy crap. Chill out now. I didn't check news. Oh, I was muted. Steve, what's up? Good to be back. Good to have you. So news-wise today, it's really light stuff until you get to a few hours into New York session. It's not a big news day at all. Some light pound news in an hour. There was a little bit of Euro news already passed, so it's not much. You get Bank of England, 10:30 New York time. High impact. Consumer confidence, 10 a.m. New York. So plenty of time. Not much news for a while. Yeah, as we look at that. So again, that looks like the best opportunity. Just letting that develop. Testing of the 5-minute 14 EMA. The lower the better on the volume. What is this? Oh, news is... Oh, that's cool. News is on here. I can't see the top of it. I never clicked on that thing. Here's from a 1-minute point of view. This is hitting the 14 EMA testing for sellers. And you see a little bit. Which is fine. That's... If it was a lot compared to these... But there's some, okay? And maybe it'll float up and it won't be there. And so again, it's just a 1-minute view of what is really the 14 EMA test. And that 5-minute isn't high volume there at all. But just to get in there and see. Again, the 1-minute shows this, which is nice. This is London Open right here, so you get the spike in activity. But here's actually a sign of strength, fake break. A little later on, nice increase. These colors can be dead on, but at other times, like, not. They're pretty good here. This is weakness. This is a 14 EMA and weakness. So ideally, that's red, whatever. It's not like I'm trading off of it, but visually, it's cool. We got a lot of these right, except for maybe that one. Buying. So typically at these test points, right, the buyers pause their activity, test for sellers. A little showed up and it could sort of die out and give a no supply on this candle. It could close up on lower volume with no selling coming in. So we want to get the message that selling is inactive. So again, it's good to look at it in there and see the 1 minute, see how it's behaving. There's just a little bit of selling did show up. All this correlation, though, is interesting. $0 5-minute. And the Bitcoin 5-minute, which is a little ahead, right? The Eurodollar's there. Yeah. Interesting. It'll be funny if the Eurodollar does this to copy Bitcoin. It's like the same exact pattern. It's just a couple hours ahead. And we're here. The Eurodollar's there. That is funny. There's a little high volume to consider the scalp entry. We're talking about that. I typically don't take the 14 EMA rejection shorts if there's high volume off the low, which in this case there is. The pound yen was an option for shorting. That also, it's London Open volume, which is a consideration. If this wasn't here, this would be a short entry as far as a scalp, just setting up right now. It's clean rejection sort of activity off the 14 like this one. So it's not a bad short scalp here. Again, the only thing wrong with it is it has a spike in volume, but that's London Open volume. It did kind of come in as strength though. So, but if that doesn't bother you too much, there's an opportunity. That's a scalp setup there, which maybe some of you have the course. That is a setup. You just got to consider maybe a little extra risk because that happened. Exaggerated London Open volume. But there it is. Of course, when it's been rejecting for a while, you're in a good situation to do that. The larger time frames are important to see that you're not trading into any particular levels. Is it a good time to be even like aggressively shorting as it's moving down? And I'd say yes, because the 618 is thoroughly broken here. Which is very bearish. It didn't pop up on high volume or anything like we're looking at with euro dollar. Pound is obviously more bearish than the euro. The pound more bearish than the euro. So if we're sitting below 618, right, it's a very bearish environment, and there's not a lot of strength coming in. So that's why I would say if you look at the big picture, and again, one more thing to show you about that. So it's likely to go, typically when it breaks 618, you're headed to or near the support that you drew the fib from, right? That's that marker that really tells you, are you having a retracement or reversal? So again, you have a lot of room here. A lot of room, like 200 pips. So scalp entry could end up being a 200 pip trade. So it is nice besides this spike here. So, it's whatever you're comfortable with. Okay, euro dollar. Closing up near the high on low volume was one of the things that I mentioned, showing us we're getting through here without selling coming in. So I may put a position on here. Actually, I better get ready. With a stop likely at 30. All right. Euro dollar did confirm there. Okay. I don't have to go crazy. I could get another entry opportunity or something on something else. Again, it's a good risk reward stop loss at 30. Okay, so I put a position on the euro dollar. The euro dollar long. Stop at 30 and have a position on that. And again, this is high probability textbook situation. It's the right time of day. And it's really good risk reward. When I get into a trade, I'm always thinking about what am I risking, right? Again, I said my stop was at 30. And that allows for another test of this area and a slight fake break. Beyond that, we're hitting 30 here, time to get out. So it's typically 5 to 10 pips below the low. So I threw it in at 30 if I just did a pip or two, but that's the idea. Once it breaks here, beyond any little slight overshoot, you get to this area, then it's sort of like the pound breaking that 618, right? Very bearish. So if you consider that stop loss compared to targets, talk about targets on a situation like this. Going with the trend, my main targets are back to the high of the trend and continuing the trend. In this case, there was a lot of selling here. I want to be a little more realistic. It could range. And some areas of interest to see where, if weakness starts to come in. I need to be able to draw a box on here. I'll figure that out later. This some sort of drawing. But that's a box. No, No. Okay, worry about that later. See, once you draw more than one fib, it's a mess. All right, so I got a position on there, a little larger than I took before, since it is the right time of day to trade the euro dollar. Really want to draw that box. How to draw a box in TradingView? I'm sure one of you know. Oh, that looks like a box. No. um. I'll have to deal with my multiple fibs for now. All right, let's see. So, of course, the 50 EMA is a test. There was a bit of selling there. That's a test. You got to run into all these areas. That's why things don't go in a straight line. They go in waves. Stop, test, stop, and test. But this was the first area to test after the strength. And, how many are you going to wait? It's a good situation. Good risk reward down here. So just to finish off about targets, typically on a trend retracement trade, the 618 stuff, I can get rid of this fib. It's so annoying having two fibs. Okay. So as far as where profit area on trades typically is defined by where sellers may become more active, right? If you're long. And in this case, there's a fib here, there's a resistance here and here, which did bring a fair amount of selling, which again could limit this thing, have it range. But let's see, 60. I mean, just going to 50 fib is, if that's all it does, it gives you that. It shows a lot of weakness there, and that's your target. That's fine, right? What is that? What's roughly the entry? So 60, 40, 50, 50, 50 pips, whatever it is. So if we just make it up there, it's really fine as a trade. And if a lot of weakness comes in, I would close it or close most of it and lock in some pips. If it wants to continue the trend, maybe leave some on with a trailing stop or something. But there's strong selling up there, and who the heck knows? I listen to the chart. If there wasn't high volume selling there, I'd be a little more confident to look for the top of the trend, as I usually do, for a target. But again, the risk reward is really good, even if it just hits 50 to 618, right? With the stop loss being here, if you look at it from a 1 hour point of view, and the entry there, stop loss there, target. So it's about double, more than double. The best thing to see is as it floats up, there's no overwhelmingly high volume. And so far, no issue. What else? Wish I could see the top of this box. Let things develop for a minute. not much else to say at the moment, unless anybody has any questions. Euro dollar. Again, there is that correlation factor with a lot of these pairs. It's like unless something's particularly bearish, like the GU, they're tending to all be sort of doing the same thing where they're at a decision point, move down, hit buyers. Is that going to be the rest of the day? We're going to move up off of these patterns. That's a higher probability. If things change, again, it's really going to be shown that lower prices, support and slightly below, are not bringing strength. And if that happens across these correlated situations, then we could be going to have a down day. So you don't have to wait until it happens and be surprised. It's likely going to break without any strength if that were the case, but that's the lower probability situation for today. Here's our tests. So just to kind of track this in real time, we are seeing a fairly low volume response. And we just run into these areas. That's the best thing to see as it moves up. If you're judging the health of the trade, it's the higher prices not showing. If you're in this trade, I am. If the higher prices are not showing weakness, of course, is the best thing to see. And particularly, you're going to get these points where, and they happen to be close together because, again, you have this now coming up, which had brought a bit of selling. Of course, nothing compared to this buying and the buying in the background at this price area, but it's a little swing point, a little bit of supply was there. So the best thing you can see is the pausing of the buying, allowing sellers to bring it down if they're there, and getting the low supply situation where they don't show up, which it appears to be here. So this is basically a no supply. If you're moving above that, you're confirming that you're likely going to the next test area, which is right here. Which is fine. If we just end up floating through here, taking its time and not seeing weakness, we're on our way. It's fine. And again, if it starts to come down off of any of these levels, if there's no weakness behind it, it's likely a low volume down move and continue. It's really the high volume rejection stuff that would mean any trouble. So it can take its time. This is good information. That's all that really matters. Patience. So it's just about confirming no supply now. This is Pepperstone volume. That was FXCM volume on the other chart, and you see that it's telling you the same thing. There's no supply here. So like I said, because people still ask about, what's the best broker for volume, and they're much more similar than they used to be. So as long as it's similar to FXCM, Pepperstone, then you have something fine. If it looks different, if let's say this was a little higher or this was not high or that kind of down here, right, then you got an issue, something weird. It should look similar, and then you're fine. It's better than it used to be. As far as consistency and good tick activity, see, once we've confirmed the no supply, we're pretty much seeing it fly up to the next test area where they'll likely pause their buying again. So that would be the spot. If I was one of those buyers marking up, I'd stop right there, exactly there, and see what the sellers think about things right now. Gold, sure. Now, as I say in these situations, a little volume is acceptable, and we look at the reaction, don't overreact. But if we have high volume weakness at this area where there was some selling, I could trim down my position. I want it to match the health of the trade. Again, there's a long way to go. I don't need a huge position on here for it to be good. There's like a 2-to-1 target. That's first target. So I could always trim it down if I don't like the behavior. I really want my bar clock back. Okay, so gold, yes, sir. This is, again, similar, right? It's like everybody's dealing with this. A few of them have broken that are more bearish, but a majority of them are seeing some strength in buying, right? So again, and it must be that the US dollar is driving this stuff. Because, the correlation here. US dollar strength. But or weakness, right? In the cases where, again, so with gold, you see it's a similar situation, but it's confirming its bearishness. If you look at the pound, it's like that same pattern where it's actually confirming the bearishness. It's like it's there, sort of thing. And then you have others that are in this same situation, like Eurodollar, and bullishness being confirmed. So it falls into the bearishness category. I guess the correlation may be going their separate ways. I don't know. If it does end up bouncing and there is strength here, okay, it's got to be above 618 and do it quickly. Otherwise, it looks like it's falling into the category of the bearish situation of breaking the 618. The AU is above it now again. So if we get back above it, then there's strength. But the pound has not done that, of course. So it falls into that category in its pattern, bearishness. Now, is that like a situation where you want to sell? I wouldn't there. I'd like to sell into up moves and weakness. If it does break that, typically, maybe I talk about the scalp sort of entries when you have a sort of a ways to go if you're trending down. But up move and weakness, and as long as it stays below 618, I'd look for a weakness into up moves to sell it. It could test 618 again or here, move retracement and get weakness. As long as it's staying below there. If it does test there, you really want to see it reject. So hopefully that's helpful. The Eurodollar entry you're asking about? Sure, it's... I'll stick to the... and I'll explain the logic behind it, because that's the main thing I want you to be able to understand. The entries is the test areas. So we have the 14, the 50, this area, right? So the first was after strength and the whole situation confirmed, was to see it get through 14 EMA, which it did at this point after low volume, on low volume. And right before this happened, I said one good thing we could see is if this candle closes up on lower volume. And so I got that and entered. Okay. Next test area is going to be here. I wish they weren't there, but let's not be in denial. And this, like I've mentioned this before, you could be in a trade, it starts to fly off, and you're thinking, okay, that's great. That's the best thing that could happen. It just goes up quick, right? See what may come of that, because it could be a sign of weakness. If it closes down, the volume is excessively high, which it is. So I want to see the outcome of that. I don't overreact, because it could be what we're hoping, which the setup supports, which is just aggressive buying, markup styles coming in here, and signs of weakness are temporary into higher prices, and it continues. But if it rejects as a sign of weakness, then again, there's the option to trim down the position a little bit, close it, move stop to break even. So I tend to manage the trade based on what I'm seeing. Now, if we're sitting in this upper area, we're still we're looking good. We're fine. It's when you hit high prices and you squash, right? And you end up with, your classic sign of weakness includes closing off the high. But when you accept high prices, this is all the same stuff you guys know. We're accepting the higher prices here. We're not seeing a squash. Nice push at the end there too. So you may be up roughly about 20 pips. I'm going to move my stop loss to break even, because the logic behind that is if that much volume is coming in and it comes back to my entry point as a result, I'm getting out, right? If it moves up as a result, okay, all good. So I'm now, reacting to what I'm seeing. You see potential weakness. It's not horrible. We didn't get squashed, but the volume is a bit excessive. I'm not worried about it, but again, the logic is if it comes back to my entry point off of high volume, right? That's the result of high volume, right? Effort versus result, and it's a huge effort. So with all that activity, let's stay in the right direction, and we're good. So stop loss at break even on the euro dollar. That's more like it. Trade at the right time of day, huh? Smack myself in the face. At least in this one, like I said, the earlier position was smaller. This one is my regular. I didn't go full risk, which I typically don't hit my max. It's sort of a brick wall, but it's a regular size, sort of average size position on there. So if that continues doing its thing, it's a good day. There's AU. They're likely to correlate, and I'll probably stick with what I have for the moment. But the AU is giving you the same situation. Looks like it's on its way. The GU. Oh my gosh, it's been an hour already. That is nuts. CEJ. It looks like the euro is getting happy, right? The euro's getting happy. You see EJ. Even the pound has made a little higher high there. The weakling. Look at the. So, like I said, that's a scalp entry, but I didn't take it because this. And some of you know the scalp setups, and that would be a scalp setup 100% if the high volume was not there off the low price. And you can see earlier situations where it's reasonable because you get slight increases you got to live with. And I say the lower the better. So you have something like this. Okay, that's reasonable. Here's a low price here. Stuff there. It's reasonable. It's not horrible. Lower prices here are good, right? And this is just, do not take the next one, right? So there's a good example of that. If it had continued down with high volume coming in, but it continues down and gets regular volume, then we continue to look for it, right? But of course, it bounced as a result, confirming strength. So that's when you want to skip that. Typically, when price gets thrown up quickly, it's going to hit supply. It just is. Higher prices attract sellers. But if we can accept it, start to see higher prices come in on lower regular volume, then that's when we're looking good. But no risk on the trade at this point. In the situation that was correlating amongst the non-bearish ones, GU gold aside, I think the euro was probably the best pick. But then again, AU has a good background, a little better background, so that might. But they're happy. The euro, the Australian dollar are happy right now. And let's see if these guys are all getting in on it. The correlation has started to break a bit with everything. Ethereum, well, I do own some Ethereum, so that is cool. Where are we with this? I don't need all that crap. This is cool and everything, but I still love MT4. It's just something about it. It's so just simple. These are web-based platforms, basically. So here at a 1 hour chart. Again, you see the correlation. This, right? Pullback, and then recently the fake break, the sign of strength. It's cool. It looks like Ethereum, Euro, Australian dollar are starting to play out this business. The other ones that may be a bit more on the bearish side. Pound, struggling. Okay. Some of you are typing private messages, some of you are not, which is fine. Just letting you know. I guess you do have a choice. I forgot about the private. You see my market profile. It is what it appears to be there. I messed with it, I changed it, and then I'm like, let me just kind of fade it out a little bit. You could barely see it. You're on your last leg there, market profile. Again, you're going to go down if you don't do something useful. I like bells and whistles as much as the next guy, but they got to have some purpose. If we can get a close above this candle, it really helps the situation. Again, no risk on the trade. You could even take partial profit. And I typically, it's like you want 20 pips minimum before you start even touching the trade, unless, of course, there's an issue and the chart says there's a problem. But in that give or take 20 pip area, it's potentially weakness. It's not sort of out of nowhere. If it was floating up and the high volume was just not coming in, I'd say the best thing, do not touch it, right? But you see a bit of selling. No risk on the trade. Could bank a little bit. You could not. That's my thinking. All right, well, it's been an hour. I'm not in any rush to go or anything. There are going to be other days where, like, I'm going to do an hour and be out because I got stuff to do. Of course, always minimum an hour. I got to watch this later. But other days it'll be a little longer. So whatever. You'll forgive me if they're a little shorter sometimes. But in the end, we'll be over the minimum. Tomorrow night, for example, because it's a new schedule, having to be here 10 p.m. Tomorrow night, I have something to do, but luckily it's getting cut short and ending at 9. I was going to have to end it at like 9:45, but it's ending at 9 anyway. But again, I got to be here because I got to be here. But really the thing is, and I'm sticking to it, I'm taking the forex trades once I get into London Open, like here today. And the 10 p.m., I'll still do the analysis, and if there's a setup, I'll point it out, but I'm not taking it. I'm sticking to, there's a reason why I stopped Asia. And in such good conditions, just wait for the regular textbook stuff, right time of day. That's what I'm going to do. But there could be the cryptocurrency trades, and there, of course, the analysis will be there for opportunities maybe coming up. But again, I like my Bitcoin approach where, and if you're just getting into it, I acquire low, I hold, hodl, but I'm not a crazy holder. That's like 8 or 40,000. But if at any time one of these three moves up, I'll be in there with some sort of ownership of Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. But again, if it goes lower, I will be looking to buy more. That's it. Pretty simple. But what made me buy some more Litecoin at this point today was pretty obvious, right? It looks like the euro-dollar setup. If it goes lower, we do have that option. There's not much else I could say about it. It doesn't have to be so complicated, right? That's is what it is here, and there's a lot of similar situations. There'll be other days where there's 4 different storylines going on, right? The cryptos have their own storyline that may or may not be correlated. Stuff within that may be different. It's one of those days where there's a lot of similarities, and you look at one chart, you look at the next, and you end up kind of talking about the same thing because of all the correlation. So it is what it is. Okay, so euro dollar, higher prices getting accepted on decreased volume is really what we want to see. If you happen to be long here, we don't see a real price rejection, any issue. Again, typically when prices get thrown up or drop down in a quick manner, you're going to hit some high volume. But the reaction, as I say, is the most important. The more we can stay up without high volume, the better it is bullish wise. And we didn't, drop down as a result so far. But for me, no risk on the trade. All right, I guess I'll end it. Not much else to talk about. So when I send out the recording, just so you guys know, it takes like half an hour for it to download from the GoToMeeting. Like it converts recording into a movie file. It has nothing to do with my computer or my internet. It does it at its own pace. It's a 1 hour video. It takes like half an hour for it to convert, which is just silly. So, then I got to upload it to YouTube, and that has to process. So it's about 45 minutes at least once the session ends, that you get the recording. There may be another way to maybe screen capture or do it where I can just do it in 10 minutes. That would be nice, you know. But that's what it is at the moment. I was supposed to be on Skype today. I told people I would be on. I didn't. Maybe tomorrow. Just wanted to focus here. Go Euro. Go Euro. Buy the dump, sell the pump. I think we bought the dump. Not really. So a textbook high probability, picture perfect, pretty much setup, right time of day. Strikes again. When did it come together? Right, as soon as we saw this, said, okay, there it is. Time to look to get in. This was the deal, sealed the deal, right? Now, again, this is an area that's likely to attract some selling, right? If you're looking at multiple targets, this is a main sort of level here. Just because it was aggressive buying doesn't mean it has to break through. It could be the high of the day. Who knows, right? But it's not a random level. I mean, I'm not jumping in and doing any profit taking, but see how it reacts. Be realistic. Let's see the 1 minute. So you get some volume up there. It happens. You can always take off a third of the position, keep your stop at break even, and then go for the extra, about another 25 pips or so, and you hit from here. You end up at the 50 fib, which is the next main area to sort of get a read on things. Target area, or at least area of information. All right, guys. Cool. We're glad we had good stuff going. Any other questions? No? Okay, cool. All right, guys. That was fairly painless. I will see you tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern. Have a good one, guys.